Hi, Graeme Shevas from Playfair Finance, Invoice Finance broker here. I am just on today to give you 7 advantages of Invoice Finance. Advantage 1, you will get money without extending long-term debt, because an Invoice Finance Facility is a facility that works slightly differently to a capital and repayment loan, and it doesn't actually have to appear on your balance sheet as a debt, because all you're actually borrowing against is your debtor ledger, which is there as a debt anyway. So you're getting advance against that. Advantage 2 is that you only make payments to repay it as and when the money comes in. So you're not having to find a repayment at the end of every month. The actual payment of the invoice is the thing that repays the debt. Advantage 3, you can feel better about taking on bigger projects. So if you're a business and you have the opportunity to take on a project or a contract with a larger organization, and you're a little bit nervous about the payment terms that that larger organization has, which might actually then make it difficult for you to fulfill the contract without spreading yourself a little bit too thinly, then if you have an invoice finance facility in place, you know you're going to get the money early, which means that you're going to be able to fulfill that contract without being too thin. And it might unlock some good profit for you to have a lucrative contract like that. Advantage 4 is you can choose how much you want to borrow and how often. So you don't actually have to send an invoice over and borrow immediately. In fact, that's probably a symptom of underlying cash flow issues in your business. So an invoice finance facility potentially isn't for you. It's not a band-aid. It's something to assist with your cash flow. So if you are able to borrow against certain invoices, then that might actually mean that it's a little bit easier to trade out of it as well, just on the basis that you're not wholly reliant on a facility of that type. Advantage 5 is that the money is almost available immediately. So effectively, you send over an invoice or a sales invoice that you've raised to the factoring company or the invoice discounting company, and within 24 hours, you've got 85% to potentially 90% of that upfront ready to use as cash flow in your business. Advantage 6 is that you can apply for it quite quickly. So effectively, there are a lot of providers in the market. You would come to myself. I would identify the most appropriate lender for you and put you in touch with that lender. But I would first of all understand your requirements. So if you come to me, I would also come back to you before we went to the market, just to clarify really exactly what it is you're looking for. So it's not just a case of I'm doing something that you could already do yourself. I'm actually adding a little bit of value there in terms of identifying the kind of executive summary, if you like, that's going to go to each lender with a view to finding you the most appropriate solution for your requirements, because every requirement is different. And the 7th advantage is that you can actually have some of these facilities linked with your accounting software, which makes actually accounting for them a little bit easier as well. So if you're dealing with a finance provider or an invoice finance provider who takes the debtor ledger or the list of invoices that you've raised directly from your accounting software, then you don't have to double entry in order to send them over to the invoice finance provider. Now this is a fantastic advantage, and it's probably been around. It has been around for a while. But when I had an invoice finance facility, I raised an invoice. You had to then write it on an invoice list and send that list along with a copy of the invoice to the finance provider before you'd get paid. So things are much, much slicker now because it is a much more recognized cash flow facility. The stigma that used to be attached in terms of it being for companies that were in trouble is no longer there, and it is a viable alternative. And you can see that really because most of the high street banks also have a solution, but the high street banks are also available through my panel, so they may or may not be the right ones for you. depending on the criteria. But I can save you that time, and it won't cost you a penny, because my fee for that work would come from the Invoice Finance provider. So I hope you found those 7 tips useful. If it's something that you would be interested in having, then please get in touch with me, and I will be more than happy to assist you.